So this is that future bass plucky pad sound. Hi guys, SKETI here, back with a brand new tutorial. This time we're going to look at how to make a plucky pad sound for future bass in Serum, so let's get to it. Right, so I've got my Serum patch here, and also I'll show you the pattern that I've made for it. And this is basically based in F minor, so we've got an F minor chord, F minor 7, C minor 7, B flat minor 7 as well, and then a little bit of a change at the end, but I can play that through. I haven't done much on the Serum yet, but we're going to go through it. But this is sort of what the line sounds like. So very simplistic, but I'm going to show you now how the Serum's made. So the first thing I've done is I've just grabbed hold of the basic shapes and turned it to the triangle waveform, and also set the random all the way down to 0, so that it always starts from the same point in the waveform. I've kept the level the same and everything, except I've changed FM from B, which we'll get to in a second, and I've set it to 35%. I've also set the union to 6, the detune to 0.29 and the blend to 42. And when we go to the global tab, I've set the width of that unison to 37, so it's not super wide. Next thing I've turned on is the sub, and I've also set that to a triangle wave, but set it an octave below and kept the level the same. So if we listen to those two together now, obviously it just adds in that extra pitch layer. Next thing I've also done as well is I've changed envelope 1 to an attack of 45 milliseconds, a decay starting at 72 milliseconds, but is also controlled by macro 1, and that's being moved to 24 above that 72 milliseconds point there. So obviously you just drag that macro in, and then we can change the length of it. Obviously if I try that now, so it just gives me the ability to go from really plucky to more longer notes. I've set the sustain to minus 31.6 decibels and the release to 252 milliseconds. And then the next thing I'll show is the second oscillator going into this first oscillator. So this is just a sawtooth wave, obviously the default one that loads up. I've set this to +1 octave, turned the random all the way down. I've kept all of the other settings the same except for the level. I've turned down to 22%, and then obviously FM'd that into oscillator 8, 35%. So this is what that sounds like now. So it still sounds a little bit too bright and not that plucky, so what we're going to do now is focus on the filter and then all of the effects that I've added. So I've used a filter here, and this is being controlled by LFO1 on the filter cutoff, and I've set this to an envelope mode, a quarter note, and then use this kind of sweeping down style of LFO. And this is applied to this cutoff here from 89 Hertz, and it's going up to 50 points from that 89 Hertz. I've set the resonance to 19% and also turned the fat all the way up to 100%, and this is being applied to both A and B oscillators. I haven't really applied it to the sub because it wasn't necessary. A triangle wave by itself doesn't have too much top end harmonics, but this triangle wave did, because obviously we're getting an FM from this sawtooth wave. So this is what it sounds like now. Now we're getting into that sort of plucky territory that you hear in future bass kind of pads. I've kept the compressor on, which is a multi-band compressor. I haven't really touched the settings except I've turned the gain up, and then obviously turned the master down below 50% just so it doesn't clip within the synth itself. I've then turned hyperdimension on, and this is a technique that I use quite often in the synths I make, and if you watch my other tutorials you'll see this. I set it to re-trigger mode on the hyper, and the mix I turned down to about 23%. I also set the dimension to 6% and the mix to 39%. So this is what that sounds like now. So it just again adds a little bit more layering, obviously, with those 4 unison sounds and a bit more space, because this dimension is basically like a short reverb. Next thing I've applied is a little bit of distortion, and again I've applied this LFO to that, and it's starting at 32%, and going up 32 points with the LFO. I've just kept it on tube. Now this isn't really there to do much, it's just to add a little bit more grit and harmonic, distorted harmonics in it. As you can hear, there's not that much difference, but it just adds a little bit more grit and harmonics to the sound. Now the next thing I've applied is I found there's a little bit too much bottom end in the sound, so I used the filter to apply a 24 decibels per octave high pass filter starting at 85 Hz with the resonance set to 27%, and I've kept all the other settings the same, and this is what that sounds like. As you can see, it just takes some of the bottom end out. And the EQ that I've applied as well, I've applied a notch at 462 Hz with minus 11.4 decibels, and I've kept the Q at 51%, so you can see that notch applying there. And then I've also applied an LFO'd notch that also lifts up into a sort of bell curve at 6,698 Hz, and starting from minus 7.9 decibels, it goes up 50 points. So that's probably to about plus 12 decibels, I think. Let's check. Plus 16 decibels. So, and I've set the Q to 38%. What was that? 39% even. So this EQ and this filter is there just to refine the shape of the sound a little bit more, obviously the frequency content. We've got this delay here, which is just a normal delay, so it kept the feedback the same. The only thing I did change was this the delay frequency curve, so that it's not basically delaying across all frequencies, it's just within that narrow range there, and I kept the mix the same as well. And then the last thing I applied was a reverb. Just kept it at the whole setting, decay of 3.6 seconds. I kept the size the same, set the low cut to 37%, the high cut to 42%, the spin depth to 80%, kept the spin the same, and then kept the mix the same as well. So as you can see, quite an easy way to make that sort of future bass plucky pad sound that you hear in a lot of those kind of tunes. And then the one thing that I did as well is I also applied an audio effect rack. Now this is sort of like an optional extra that you can do, and this has basically got the redo tool with downsampling set to soft at 5.52, and then another EQ8 just to refine the sound a little bit more, and then a glue compressor just to finish it off so it doesn't clip. So obviously with future bass you can step into that kawaii territory, and obviously with those bit crush sounds it sounds a lot more like that sound that you could go for. Now obviously it's always good to listen to this against a drum pattern just to see what it sounds like. So this is that synth, and I'll basically switch between the two. So I'll play the pattern round once without this extra audio effect rack on, and then I'll play it with. So this is that future bass plucky pad sound. So there you go guys, a really quick way in Serum to make a plucky future bass pad sound. Now obviously you could use this for different styles of music like house music, breaks, dubstep, any sort of electronic music that you would feel like it would fit, probably tropical house as well. Anyway guys, I hope you find that useful. I'm going to drop the link to the preset of that Serum patch in the description below, so check that out and you can download that in your own time. Drop a comment if you like this, if you've got any questions or recommendations for future tutorials. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button, notification bell so you see these videos more in the future. I also go live on Twitch most weeknights as well, where I make some music, play some bass, get together with a great community who share their tunes with me, and we have a lot of fun, sort of build each other up, make friends, and just talk about music and life in general. But anyway guys, I shall see you later. Bye.
Everybody jump up, come on!